ladies and gentlemen. I am the author of this book, recently loaded up to Amazon's Kindle, The Lynching of a Saint, the best legal analysis of the Penn State scandal. And most of the book is actually dedicated to the criminal case against Jerry Sandusky, but it also completely exonerates Joseph Vincent Paterno, Coach Joe Paterno, the late Joe Paterno, of any wrongdoing in his job performance at Penn State. A man who gave 62 years of his 85 years to Penn State. That's almost 73% of his life that he gave in service to Penn State. The all-time winningest coach at Division I level football, and a winner of 2 national championships at Penn State. And by the way, Jerry Sandusky was a brilliant defensive coach, an awesome defensive coordinator, who seems to have been a trouble man with some mental problems. And all of the wrongdoing that was done at Penn State was done by him. And Joe Paterno did everything he could to protect Penn State. In 1998, after a mother of one of the Second Mile Foundation children complained when he got home her 11-year-old son, his hair was wet. And she asked him why was his hair wet. And he told her that he had taken a shower with Jerry Sandusky. Now the child did not mention any acts of violation, any sexual activity. But anyway, she filed a complaint with the Penn State University Police Department. And there was a detective, Ronald Schreckler, who along with a detective from the County Sheriff's Department presented an affidavit to the prosecutor to file charges against Jerry Sandusky for sexual abuse of that child. And when that affidavit and the police report were presented to the then district attorney, Ray Frank Grykar, he declined to prosecute. On April the 15th of 2005, Frank Ray Grykar vanished into thin air. His car was found near the Susquehanna River in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, and he's never been heard from since that time. Now, Ray Frank Grykar's older brother committed suicide in Ohio, and it is not known if Ray Frank Grykar did the same thing. His remains were never found. However, his laptop computer was found on the banks of the river, and the hard drive, nobody could retrieve any data from it. But he's never been heard from since that time. Now, is that related to this Penn State scandal? I guess we'll never know. But that's all featured in this book. There's a chapter dedicated to the disappearance of Ray Frank Grykar. But in any event, the majority of the book is laid out with the grand jury testimony that was the basis for the 52 charges against Jerry Sandusky. Jerry Sandusky's career with Penn State is outlined in the book. A timeline for all criminal conduct during the Jerry Sandusky era at Penn State is laid out. But Joe Paterno did everything he could to protect Penn State. He actually bled Penn State blue. In 1998, following the police report and investigation of Jerry Sandusky, Joe Paterno made it known to Jerry Sandusky that he would never become the next head coach of Penn State University. Jerry Sandusky asked him about it, and he assured him that that would never happen as long as he was still alive. I think that may have been one motivation for Joe Paterno to hang on as long as he did, was to make certain that Jerry Sandusky would never be on either a long list or a short list to replace Joe Paterno as the head coach at Penn State. And during the course of that extended stay, obviously he became the winningest coach at Division I level. Quite a feat that probably will never be duplicated by another coach, because I don't think anybody will stay at one school for 46 years. A total of 62 years, including his time as an assistant coach. But I don't think anybody else will survive that long to break his record. But he really loved Penn State. At a time when Mac Brown at Texas and Lou Saban in Alabama were making more than $5 million a year, here was a man who made $500,000 and some change. He turned down opportunities to become an NFL head coach many times because he loved Penn State just that much. His family loved Penn State. He was the heart and soul of Penn State. He raised money to to build a new university library that's named for him and his wife Susan, the Joe and Susan Paterno Library, which just augmented the main campus library that still exists, and there was enough money raised to renovate that library. And I forgot how many portals they have, portals they have for computers, and of course the place is wired for Wi-Fi and all of that to help their students have greater resources than the books there at the library. So he really loved that school. And when Joe graduated from Brown University, his parents thought that he would become a lawyer, and he certainly would have made one well of a lawyer. But he loved football, and God knows he loved Penn State. So while the book is called The Lynching of a Saint, the best legal analysis of the Penn State scandal, very little of the book is actually about Joe Paterno. It's about the case, the scandal, the allegations of criminal conduct on the part of the assistant, Jerry Sandusky. But the book does serve, in summary, to exonerate Joe Paterno totally. Now, the Board of Trustees voted to oust Joe Paterno because of a failure of moral leadership. When he was advised by Graduate Assistant McCurry that he had observed the rape of a child in the showers, he took that information, which was hearsay, and went to his superiors, the athletic director, and also the executive vice president of academic affairs, Schultz and Curley. And he told them what McCurry told him. And also, McCurry also spoke to both Schultz and Curley and told them the same thing he told Joe Paterno. And they failed to act. And when they were asked about it in a statewide grand jury led by the current Attorney General, they perjured themselves and said they had no knowledge of any sexual misconduct on the part of Jerry Sandusky. And that obviously turned out not to be true. And it also cost the president of the university, Graham Spanier, his job. And I thought that was an overreach by the Board of Trustees. After all, it was the Board of Trustees that gave Jerry Sandusky Professor Emeritus status upon his retirement after 32 years of service at Penn State. What a Professor Emeritus means is that he would always have an office at Penn State. He would always have keys to the facilities, the athletic facilities. He would always have a parking space. He would have an office, university email, and access to the internet, and just unlimited, unfettered access to the campus and its buildings, its facilities. And it was because of that status, granted by the same Board of Trustees, that ousted Joe Paterno and Graham Spanier, that led to whatever child abuse that occurred on the campus of Penn State, made that possible, because he had unlimited access to the campus. And by the time that the graduate assistant McCurry made this report to Coach Paterno, Jerry Sandusky was no longer on staff. He was no longer an assistant coach at Penn State University. And the only reason he still had the said access was because of the Professor Emeritus status. So Joe did all he could to protect Penn State, and it clearly was a travesty, a crucifixion of a saint, for them to throw him under the train like that, a dying man. All he asked for was the opportunity to finish the season, perhaps through the bowl game, and he was going to retire. I'm sure Joe knew he was dying anyway, and he just wanted to go out serving Penn State as the head coach. I respect that. I love him for that. I'm a native of Alabama, and of course I'm quite familiar with the legendary football teams and coaches that came out of this state, especially at the University of Alabama, who's won 13 titles. And I'm proud of their programs as well. But Joe Paterno ran a clean program at Penn State. And his players, most of them have been honorable young men and gone on and achieved great things. And I'm just so proud of him. I thank God that he sent Joe to us, to the world, and let us have him for 85 years. And he's a role model for people all over the world. May he rest in peace, and I hope that you will enjoy this book. It's a book of 521 pages, as I said, including all of the grand jury testimony, the police reports, the criminal procedure law, the rules of evidence law in the state of Pennsylvania, the criminal code of Pennsylvania. So you can see the entire picture, and I also have a prediction of how I think this case is going to turn out. And And I won't give you that here in this promotional video. I'll let you read the book. You can get it on the Amazon as a Kindle, and for right now, it's for the next 90 days. It's on the Kindle lending program. So instead of buying the book, you can pay a small fee and read it for free. And then if you choose to own it, you can pay the purchase price of $19.99. I think you'll find it to be quite worthwhile. One of the probably more meaningful and insightful publications that you will ever read. Till then, God bless, and remember Joe, a great American, a true icon. And we'll see you later. Bye.